I feel like this is something we actually pretty much every year around this time, but given the context of everything that's happened this year with, you know, Taylor being gone and everything, uh, do you now, going into I think year 7 for you, do you feel it's more important for you to have a voice in some of those things and going on in terms of decisions with the roster and things like that?
Uh, I mean, my job is to play basketball, man. So uh, I try to stay out those convos and stuff as much as possible. Continue to leave it to the higher ups. If I feel like if I get into that, it's a lot more that's comes my way. So I just try to keep that pressure out the way.
You seem really optimistic and excited about what could be coming into the season between all the injuries, the stop starts, the way you guys played the second half of the year. How would you describe the toll it took on you personally? Was it frustrating, disappointing, something else?
For me, it was a lot. Obviously, injuries, that's frustrating. Not being on the floor is frustrating. Losing games is frustrating. Um, but I try to find a positive, in everything. And with us, I feel like we showed, signs of, what we could be, what we can be, and that's just, what I took from, this season. Just trying to make sure that the stuff we did right, we continue to do, consistently and day in and day out, and just continue to get better.
On to Michael's question, just to add to that. So I think there's probably a time and place for stuff like that, those types of conversations. Have you had a chance to meet with Zach yet? He was in here saying, it wasn't good enough this season, that they are going to have to continue to be open minded about how they can build the roster to a championship level.
Yeah, I just met with him. He said the same thing he told y'all. So
What does this team need to do for next season? During the offseason, what needs to be done to make this team better?
that's basically the same question they kind of asking, huh? I'll leave that question for Zach Kleiman. For us, we just continue to work on our games, continue to gel together, and get better.
Obviously, going back to training camp,
Back to you again.
going back to training camp, there was an emphasis on a pretty radically different sort of offensive approach that changed over the course of the season. It seemed like early on it wasn't really geared around necessarily what had been your comfort zone, and that sort of changed. What is your opinion on sort of where the offense should be focused and how that evolved over the course of the season?
Where the offense should be focused.
Yeah, the style of play as it relates to you.
No, it doesn't matter to me. Um, I just feel like as long as we playing the right basketball, I don't care who's the offense, is built around or for. Um, for me as the point guard, I just go out there and do my job. The job is not for me to score 30. It's to make everybody around me better. So whatever we come up with and whatever we run, that's pretty much how I just attack the game. I just do what's asked of me.
Ja, seeing how other teams in the West, Houston, OKC, obviously have taken another step, do you think that you still have trust
did.
in this front office?
They did. They won.
Nah, but they still playing.
I mean, I've been in the second seed too.
John, we hadn't had a chance to ask you about the hip, obviously the crutches and those kind of things. What's the next steps for you, rehab and recovery from that standpoint with the ankle and with the hip to get your summer back the way you want to get it?
That's the number one thing. Just get healthy. Stay around. Continue to get my treatment. Do my rehab, and once I'm healthy, take my little break and get right back to it. Nah, I avoided it.
John, what's your confidence level in Coach Iisalo? I know you only had a handful of games, as him being your coach, but if he is the coach next season, do you feel like you guys have a great chance of advancing, competing in the West?
Yeah, I feel like coach is a good coach. uh, I feel like Tuomas is a good coach. For me, like going into my film sessions with him or just talking, about the game of basketball, seeing and hearing that he sees the same thing I see out there on the floor. Uh, I wouldn't say it's been surprising, but it's been very exciting because we continue to just pick each other's brain and trying to find the best solution for us offensively to be good at what we want and what we want to do. He's a big time competitor. How I take on my matchups, how I go about who we're playing. He does the same thing with the opposing head coach. So I feel like that's all good signs in a coach. Somebody who's want to go to war with you. He holds everybody accountable, but he also instills all the confidence in you. So.
Ja, to what would you attribute the team's defensive fall off toward the end of the season, and what would it take, or what is a way through to try to get that back? Because in your tenure here, the team's always been around the top 5, 6 teams in the league defensively, but it just kind of like all of a sudden went away. And what would you attribute that to, and how do you get that back?
I would say it was just falls back to effort and being disciplined. I feel like all good defensive teams are very disciplined and they constantly show effort throughout the entire possession. I feel like some things that allowed our defensive numbers to drop was like turning the ball over. Teams was able to get out in transition, second chance rebounds. But it was some times where we just left guys pretty much on the island, and that's not who we are or what we're about. So we had convos pretty much with each other on saying have your brothers back when you're out there, and we showed signs of a good defensive team, what we normally be, but it just wasn't as consistent.
Ja, you did summer work with Zack Edy, and he was asked to perform a different role, more pick and roll at the NBA level as opposed to straight post up at Purdue. What did you see in his growth throughout the course of the season?
Pretty much that. Obviously, early on, I forgot who had the question earlier about the offense. He was pretty much in a different role, early in the season, and then second half we told him set ball screen. So he basically played, 2 styles of basketball, this season. But no matter what was thrown at him or what was asked of him, he tried to do his best, and he did that. And as the season went on, he continued to get better, and that's just credit to his work and what he does for himself to prepare for games and in battle, whether it's watching film with coaches or whoever, but constantly wanting to learn and ask questions. I feel like it helped him a lot.
You obviously had a frustrating season with injuries, including getting undercut twice while in the air. Nothing you can do about that. But is there anything you feel is in your control to try to alleviate the injury issue going forward?
I felt like every injury I had this year was out of my control. I didn't have an injury, this year where I was pretty much in control. I got a ball thrown at my ankle. I landed on somebody's foot one time. I got hit out the air twice. Like, that's not nothing you prepare for or you can control. So outside of those injuries, I felt like I had one of my healthiest seasons ever. I had no back problems, no knee pain throughout the whole season, and that's what I can control. So,
Ja, during media day earlier this year, you said this was the happiest you have been. A happy Ja is a scary Ja. I was just wondering where your mindset is coming after this season.
I wouldn't say I'm not happy because I'm able to do, what I love, at the highest level every day. But I'm not happy that I was not able to be out there as much as I would like to, for my team. And I'm not happy that we weren't able to, achieve our goal. But like I said earlier, like it's positive in everything. And I know what this off season looks like for me already, and it just makes me excited to go into next season.
Last two questions to Michael and Drew.
Kind of piggybacking off of that, with this season, like Zach Kleiman just said, he feels like, y'all weren't close, at the end of the season. When you look at, what y'all had in the locker room and kind of assess that, how close do you think the Grizzlies are to get back to, being at a championship level?
I honestly say it depends on us and what we want and what we want to do, and if everybody's bought in. That plays a lot in being ready and not being ready.
And we didn't get a chance to ask you about the series overall. Just what were your takeaways when the series ended in terms of the way that the team performed in the playoffs?
I didn't like obviously 2 away games, for sure. I'm even scared to answer this question because, stuff I say normally go viral and they tend to stick with you for forever. But I had them figured out. And going out, game 3, not being able to play was frustrating because that win right there could have made this totally different. I felt like we'll be on our way to OKC, series tied 2-2 right now.